I'm Will Bowden and I'm an archaeologist. Well, an archaeologist is someone who basically looks at the past through its material remains, through the bits and pieces that people left behind in the past. Well, this is the skull of a child. It's in a very fragmentary condition. And the sort of archaeology I do, I look particularly at the Romans and at the end of the Roman Empire, and I do this primarily through large field projects. I work in Albania and I work in closer to home in Norfolk. And what I'm looking at primarily is the way that the Romans used towns to say things about themselves and how they used towns to relate to people about them. So that's what interests me. We do a whole series of surveys when we get to the site to try and establish what might be under the ground and what might be the best sorts of places to dig. And then if we're allowed and if we have enough money to do it, then we would carry out excavations, but always excavations that would target specific questions, specific things we wanted to find out about the site. We're working at Caister St Edmund in Norfolk, just to the south of Norwich. And this is a site that was founded by the Romans after Queen Boudica revolted in AD 60 to 61. And this site was a town that was founded in the territory of Boudica's tribe after they had been defeated. And what we're trying to understand is why the Romans put the town there, what they hoped to achieve by putting it there, and how the local population responded to that and how the foundation of the town affected to them. Equally, we hope to find out how the town developed and finally how it ended. What happened to it at the end of the Roman period? Why does it now sit underneath just green fields with only a few sheep? Everyone is always fascinated by archaeology. If you say to someone in a pub, "Oh, I'm an archaeologist," they're straight away interested and they will say, "Oh, I always wanted to be an archaeologist," or start telling you about a site they visited. So people are always seemingly fascinated by archaeology and by the past. For me, archaeological research is about finding out about the past, but it's also about telling people what you've found about the past. So a lot of what I try and do is to directly engage with the public in terms of the projects I'm doing and what I'm finding. So a lot of what I do around the Nottingham region and in Norfolk is public lectures. I talk to as many people as I can. I can always be happily found talking to some local newspaper or other, because for me it's important to get people to understand and engage with what you're doing. And as archaeologists, I think we're lucky in that we have a ready audience for it. Archaeology has a real importance in that the material remains of the past are used by people in the present day for all sorts of different purposes. We can look at any buildings around us, and quite often they will be influenced by the traces of the classical past. So the past shapes our environment. Equally, however, the past is important in terms of national ideologies. People, countries use the material remains of the past to justify a particular ideological or political position. They will use the fact that a particular type of object has been found in a particular location to justify territorial claims to that location. So archaeology can be used in an incredibly political way, and from my point of view it's important to understand how archaeology is used in this way, and to be able to point out when it is being used in this way. Everybody is fascinated by the past and their own position in relation to the past. Archaeology in some ways is an extension of the process by which you want to know, what your great-grandmother looked like. We carry on that process, and if you give someone a piece of material that dates to thousands of years ago, and they can hold that piece of material in their hand, that has an instant power. This is a piece of pottery made just under 2,000 years ago. It's part of a large Roman dish. Someone would have used this in East Anglia around 1,800 years ago, and someone long dead would have perhaps eaten their food from here. They would have shown it to people, their house guests, to impress them. And an object like this just allows an instant connection with the past. You can straight away imagine the people who were holding this, who were touching this, who were using this in their everyday lives. They are now long gone, but we can understand something of their lives by looking at these sort of small traces of what they left behind. Without 200 years of research on Roman archaeology, it would be very difficult for someone to say that this pot had been made 10 years ago or 5,000 years ago. What we bring to the party is we help people to understand the material traces of the past, and we create a series of building blocks. We create the map that people use to navigate their way back into the past.